Chain rule begin. So this is one more derivative technique that'll get you a long way fast. So I'm going to set that up for you right now. It has to do with things that have a function inside a function. So we don't have to use the chain rule in all situations where this occurs, but it often is a really nice tool if you recognize that there is a function 3x plus 1 inside something else. We'd call this back in the old days to be like a composite functions. So for instance, if I had like an h of x and a g of x, something like that, and I said, hey, could you make h of g of x? And if I did that, what would I be doing is putting the g of x function inside of h of x. And what would happen is like this could be my g of x inside function 3x plus 1. And then h of x would be x squared. And maybe I should have written that up here. It'd be like x squared for this one, and g of x would be 3x plus 1. So by putting g of x inside h of x, you get this expression. That's kind of where it goes. It's a derivative rule that works for that. In fact, the way it's written over here, this is the chain rule of what we'd call like a composite function. What you do is the derivative of a composite, it results in the derivative of the outside with the inside untouched times the derivative of the inside. So I call this the derivative of the outside. So f is my outside function, g is my inside function. So it's the derivative of the outside with the inside untouched. So when you're deriving this, the process requires deriving f, but don't touch g while you're doing it. And then right after, you always multiply by the derivative of the inside afterward. So for this first one right here, if I use that rule, now this is, I'm going to do two options here. This is algebra first, and then simplify it, and then take the derivative with the power rule versus the chain rule. It's kind of like with the product and quotient rules. You're welcome to try and do some simplifying and not use the chain rule, if that's a possibility. Or you can just use the power of it. So I'm going to try it right now using this little rule. The derivative of the outside would be the derivative of something squared. So f prime would be, it's 2 times the inside untouched to the first power, because I'm reducing it by 1. So I might write that here, but I don't touch the 3x plus 1 at that point. I'm just deriving the outside 2 out front times whatever number's in front. Leave that untouched, reduce the power by 1, done. Then right afterward times the derivative of the inside, that's the 3x plus 1's derivative is 3. So this is me employing the derivative of the outside with the inside untouched times the derivative of the inside, done. Now we usually simplify a little bit. So this is good, and as I simplify, it just gets a little better. And that would be 6 times 3x plus 1. Of course, distribute the 6, and you've got the real winner here is 18x plus 6. Now, if I do the algebra first, you'll see it's the same result. I would FOIL this out. And so that would mean no calculus yet, but I would get 9x squared plus 3x plus 3x. That'll be plus 6x plus 1 times 1, which is 1. And the derivative would be 18x with the power rule, no chain rule needed, plus 6. So that's same results, but the chain rule is another way to go about it. It's about dealing with composite functions. So I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see these boxes a little more. That was kind of the overview. So make sure that shows up for you. And we'll do a couple of these. Now, I could FOIL this one out, but now you're starting to see, man, to the 4th power, that'd be a lot of distribution. You'd have to use Pascal's triangle and the binomial distribution theorem that goes with that. But I'm going to use the chain rule because I can see a function inside another function. So it's inside is x squared minus 4. The outside is the 4th power of the function. So here goes, f prime of x. I'm going to do the derivative of the outside, which should be 4. Leave the inside untouched with the 3rd times right afterward the derivative of the inside, which would be 2x. 2x minus 0. And this is good, but maybe the most I would do for this one, because I don't really want to FOIL out the cubic power, I'm just going to put the 2x in front with the 4. So it's about as much as I do, and that'd be 8x times x squared minus 5 quantity cubed. We'll call that extra good. So it's a nice rule. The chain rule is awesome. Well, there's a few situations that aren't just exponential. That's one place. So if you have a function inside parentheses being exponentiated, great use of the chain rule if you like. If it's a power of 2, you could always FOIL it out. But if it's above a power of 2, get to 3 and 4, FOILing it out just doesn't sound practical, so the chain rule is a good alternative. Here is another place where the chain rule is required, because that radical power actually is 4x minus 3 to the half. So So the only way we can do this one is the chain rule. So what I'll do is derive it now that I've rewritten it. So every time you see a radical, you're going to want to put it to a half power. Then you can see the function inside another raised to a power. So I'll bring the half out front, leave the inside untouched, and reduce it by 1, so it's negative a half. But then right after, you multiply by the derivative of the inside, which is 4. Again, this is pretty good, but the cleaning up that we'd want to do is this negative 1/2 is like flipping it to the denominator and calling it a square root again. And the 4 times a half makes 2. So watch how this plays out. This is an important simplification. The 2 from 4 times a half I've got, and then I'm going to move the 4x minus 3 to the denominator and put it to the half power, which I know is the same as a square root. Cool, huh? That's something that we're going to want to know later. But that's important. If you forgot, a negative power brings it to the denominator. Half, of course, is the same thing as a radical. I'm going to keep rolling. So here's one with a power. But there's already a number out front. I can see it's a chain rule is an opportunity. I like the chain rule. It's pretty easy to work with, so I'm going to use it. 3 times 2 is 6. 4x minus 7 to the second power, you reduce it by 1, times the derivative of the inside, which is just 4. This would be fine, but you can always beef it up a little bit. A little simplifying goes a long way. That's 24 times the 4x minus 7 to the second, and that might be something you want to distribute out. It's not, wouldn't take too long, wouldn't be too difficult, but I'm going to leave it as it is right now. Pretty good with that. This here, making sure you know how to deal with radicals and other fractional kind of exponents, what to do with them. We need to convert this to, so it's some expression to a power. And this 5x minus 3 to the cube root is the same thing as a 1/3 power. So I'm going to do this in 2 steps. That's 5x minus 3 to the 1/3 power. If I move this to the numerator, then I get even better. This f of x, no, it's not f prime yet, so must be that fatal flaw. You don't want to, you're not deriving yet. This is just me messing around with it. So this is 5x, funny looking little x, I got it, minus 3 to the negative 1/3 power. So that's all without calculus. This is just me employing some exponent rules. I made the radical 1/3 power, and I flipped it up to the top, made it a negative. Now it's in that chain rule form. There's a function inside parentheses to a power. So I'm going to employ the chain rule now. So I finally brought on the calculus. Negative 1/3 out front. Don't touch the inside at this stage. Reduce that by 1, so minus 3/3 would be negative 4/3. And then don't forget, you always finish by multiplying by the derivative of the inside, which is 5. So pretty good, functional, it works. I'm going to break this down in a few steps. I'm going to distribute the 5 and negative 1/3 will be negative 5/3. And I know there's a fraction involved because of the negative exponent here. It means I'm going to put this expression in the denominator. So let's do that first, actually. So now you know where this is going to go. I'll make it 4x, I'm sorry, the positive 4/3 power by moving this to the denominator. And then the 5 times negative 1/3 is actually negative 5/3. You put the 5 of the fraction on top and the 3 of its fraction in the denominator. So this would be my extra fun and finished version. Okay, and then finally, we'll go down to evaluating this one, f prime of negative 3. It looks like a product rule, and it is. I'm actually going to use the product rule, but in the middle of my product rule, I'm going to take the square root of the, or the derivative of this radical, which we've now found out is something we use the chain rule on. So I'm going to use the product rule overall because I see a product, but while I'm deriving this second function, it will involve the chain rule. So what we're going to find out is that you're going to have to use more than one rule on a number of occasions where you look for the structure that's most obvious and you say, all right, that's definitely a product. You start there. So we're going to go f prime of x is the derivative of the first, second unchanged, plus the derivative of the second times the first unchanged. There's my product template. But if I'm deriving the first and then leaving the second unchanged, I'm good to go at first. Plus the derivative of the second, that's where I'm going to have to do some work that goes, I'm going to have to derive d dx the square root of 1 minus x. And that is going to require some work. I'm going to find that somewhere else and then import it in here. So it's the derivative of the first times the second unchanged plus the derivative of the second, I'm going to go do that somewhere else and bring it back, times the first unchanged. So usually what happens with these product rules that have a chain rule in it. It's just that one component of it is going to take some work off to the side. So let's go do that. Find the derivative of that square root function. And what we'll do is make it a half power first, right? Because I need it to look like something I can use the chain rule on. Now I'm ready to go. So you bring the power out front, inside untouched at that point, reduce the power by 1. Now times the derivative of the inside, and the derivative that's negative 1. This is what I put up here. I might clean it up before I do so. So remember the fraction things. I know there's a fraction involved because of the negative exponent, and I know a half power is a radical. So I've got that going for me. And a negative 1 times a half makes a negative 1/2, and that's a fraction, so I'll put the 1 on top, the 2 in the bottom. So this is what gets placed here. Negative 1 over 2 square roots of 1 minus x. Now that in itself I'm pretty happy with. We'll call that my derivative. I might put it in green here. This shows you the product rule. And when I got to deriving the second function, I had to use the chain rule in order to get that piece. So maybe I'll give that a little color as well. Rules are, as you encounter deriving something, you just have to know which tool to apply. The larger structure was a product, so I used the product rule. In the middle of that, I had a chain rule that I had to employ. And it can happen with all these functions. Different combinations can occur. Let's do the next one. It is find the derivative of this cubic, but inside is a quotient rule. So we're going to have a chain rule because of something to a power. We're going to have a quotient rule when we get to taking the derivative of the inside. So if you remember, here's our chain rule is the derivative of the outside with the inside untouched. So that's going to be 3 inside squared. And I write the inside, don't mess with it, not yet. But times the derivative of the inside comes next. I'm going to go do some work for that, the derivative of the inside. I'm going to actually just derive the inside over here and then drop its result at the end. So I'm deriving the inside, just the t squared plus 1 over 2t minus 5. I know I have to use the quotient rule, so I'm going to set up my quotient rule. Low d high less high d low. Over the square of low we go. That's all good. I'll simplify it and then I'll drop it off. The low, 2t minus 5. D high is 2t, derivative of t squared, less low d high less high d low, derivative of the low is 2. Over the square of low we go. Quantity squared. This is enough to drop off here and I'd be done. I'd be happy with it, but just a little bit of simplifying here isn't going to hurt. Just makes it that much better. This would be 4t squared minus 10t. If I distribute the 2, that'd be minus 2t squared minus 2, because I have to distribute the negative also. And all over my denominator, 2t minus 5 quantity squared. A couple like terms, and I think I'll call this good. So if I do complete this, it's 4t squared, oops, that's 2t now, squared, after I combine them. Check, check. Minus 10t, minus 2, 2t minus 5 quantity squared. There might be some factoring that would be really handy for this, but I'm not going to at the moment. I would save that for another day when it's really necessary. But at this point, I'm just setting myself up. That's a perfectly good derivative right there. I'm liking that one, so let's highlight that one green. But it employed the chain rule because I could see a function within another function. So I did power out front, reduce it by 1, don't touch the inside, times the derivative of the inside. That's the chain rule. And deriving the inside required a quotient rule and a decent amount of work. And there you go. And that's how I tend to approach a lot of these is I set up the larger derivative, and if it's more complicated to derive one of the pieces of it, I do it off to the side and then drop it off. See you in the next video.